What is the place of the local in this globalized world of globalization that we live in today?
I've been getting a little hoarse today, so I brought some water with me, and I put it right over there. I hope I don't have a Marco Rubio moment, but if I do, I hope you'll excuse me. I'm more nervous about doing this clicker than I am about anything. This is my first visit to the campus for about a year. The last time I was here, I had a very unfortunate experience, and it almost kept me from coming this time. I got a letter, I think from Dr. Renault, may have been Dr. Geis, inviting me to an event here on campus. And it was as a result of the city participating in a grant application, and they were announcing that the grant had been received. And they asked me to come and be a special guest for that, since we had written a letter about it. I came over, I went in the room, the nice big room that the event was going to be in. A young lady was sitting at a registration desk, and she asked me if I'd register. I wrote my name down, and she said, "Oh, let me give you your name tag." And she gave me a really nice name tag, Dr. Dave Norris. Not one of those, hi, my name is, and you write your name on it with a magic marker. It was a real plastic name tag. I was impressed. She said, "You'll be sitting at the head table, kind of in between Dr. Renault and Dr. Geis." Oh, boy, I've really hit it this time. I walked around and met people. I talked to the people from the EDA that were here. I was really impressed. I even found my seat. They had my name on it. I was just fit to sit down like this. And the young lady walked over and she said, "I'm going to have to ask you for your name tag." I handed her my name tag, and she said, "And you can sit anywhere out in the audience that you like." I said, "Oh, okay." She said, "You're the wrong Dr. Dave Norris." The only seats that were left are on the very back row. And I sat back there with the guy that cleaned up and put the chairs out. But when I was asked to do this, of course, after I figured out they were really asking me rather than the real Dr. Dave, I started dancing around looking for a topic, because a lot of times when you're a mayor, you go somewhere in your own community, or sometimes I'm invited over to Monroe, you talk about your town. I didn't think that would be very appropriate here. So I was looking for a topic, and I was getting a little panicky. But one day last week, something really caught my eye. I'm hoping when I do this, okay, I did that part right. This was a headline in a newspaper story that I accidentally stumbled across. Geophysicist bill prohibits sustainable development. That was a bill that was introduced in the Kansas legislature by the chairman of the Environment and Energy Committee of the Kansas legislature. It was, in my words, it was a gift from above. That just came down to me, and I said, "Here's my topic." The chairman has introduced this bill. It's House Bill 2336 or 66 from the legislature of the state of Kansas. And the guy that introduced it is a smart man. He's a geophysicist. I had to look that up. I wasn't sure what that was. But it's somebody that studies the earth and its environment using statistical techniques. I looked him up on the web. He's got 2 degrees. He's a very smart man. And I said, "Well, wait a minute. Why would anybody introduce a bill that says that you can't do with public funds sustainable development?" In the bill, right there in the bill, I've got a copy of it. I pulled it up off the web. In the bill, it defines sustainable development. And you read that and think that that's something you want to prohibit. Sustainable development means a mode of human development in which resource use aims to meet the human needs while preserving the environment so that these needs can be met not only in the present, but for generations to come. It's right there in the bill. But you go up a little higher, and it says No public funds may be used either directly or indirectly to promote, support, mandate, require, order, incentivize, advocate, plan for or participate in the implementation of sustainable development. This prohibition is for the use of public funds by the state of Kansas or any Kansas department, and also by any municipality in Kansas. Gee whiz, I thought to myself, this is a story from the Onion. You read the Onion sometimes? Yeah, I think this is an Onion story. It wasn't. It started popping up in some other sites. It started, I couldn't figure it out, but I did know that after I read that definition of sustainable development, that sounds like something pretty good and something important. So I thought I'll talk about sustainable development. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I'll do some research on it. The first thing that came to my mind is whose job is it to do sustainable development if it's not the government playing a role in it? So I started thinking about a lot of the natural resources that we have, not just in the local area, but in the country and in the world, that need to have some planning for sustainability. You know, there's wildlife. We've got a lot of wildlife that is extinct now, and a lot of wildlife is pretty close to getting extinct. It's only what do you call it? The endangered species list. Croplands. You know that there are fisheries in the world that are starting to be so endangered because they're overfished, and there's real concern that the fish will disappear from those areas. So there are a lot of things that need in our natural environment sustainability planning. Well, we've got one natural resource right in our area, right under this auditorium, that is a natural resource that really needs sustainability study and sustainability planning. Back in 2000, that's 13 years ago, a study was published about 14 parishes in North Louisiana, including Ouachita and Lincoln, that draw their groundwater, their water for the cities, for the parish, for all of the activities from the Sparta aquifer. That's an aquifer underground that produces wonderful water, very good water. The study said, you know, we're about to lose the Sparta aquifer. It could be overpumped to the point that it's not going to be serviceable anymore. In fact, there are 3 areas in the Sparta that are so bad that they are in a position that they might become unsustainable in the next 15 or 20 years. Those 3 areas have what's called a cone of depression. Cone of depression means that you pump that aquifer down so much in those spots that the level of water in the aquifers is almost unsustainable. It's going away. We're sitting on a cone right here. Lincoln Parish has a cone of depression. West Monroe has a cone of depression. And Jackson Parish in Jackson B. Enville has a cone of depression. Those are the most serious problems with the Sparta aquifer. Well, me being the mayor of the city of West Monroe, I started worrying about what are we going to do about it. Do you know how an aquifer works? I used to think, I'm not a scientist, I used to think that an aquifer was kind of like an underground lake. It's not. If you think about one of those big old cast iron bathtubs, those clawfoot bathtubs, some of you older folks, Dr. Guy, you'll remember clawfoot bathtubs. Old cast iron bathtubs. If you took one of those and you filled it up with sand, and on one end you had a spigot where water's coming out into it, and on the other end you have a drain where water's going out. When you fill it up, the water table is what we call the level where it's wet, where it's saturated. Now the problem comes in when there's an imbalance between what's coming in and what's going out. What's coming in is called the recharge area, and the recharge of the aquifer. What's coming out is what we use water for. In the Sparta, we're using 17 million gallons a day more than the recharge. So what's happening is the level, the wet level in that bathtub is going down. It's going down so much. When I got elected mayor, I think we had 7 wells. Now we've got 4, and we've drilled 1 since I've been in office. The others have become unusable. There are wells all over this 14 parish area that are starting to be unusable. And as the water gets lower in the aquifer, the quality of the water gets worse. Well, being the smart guy that I am, I decided we're going to have to do something about this in our community because we can't afford to lose the Sparta aquifer where I live. The big problem in the Sparta aquifer in Ouachita Parish, where that big cone of depression comes from, is there are a lot of people that rely on it, but there's a big paper mill there that uses 10 million gallons of fresh water a day in the process of making paper. So I had this bright idea. I went to the paper mill people and I said, you know, you guys are using a tremendous amount of water. And our wastewater treatment plant is only about a mile away from the paper mill. What if we started sending what comes out of our wastewater treatment plant to the paper mill and you use that in place of the Sparta water? That would reduce the drain on the Sparta and help to stabilize that water table. They were nice about it. They said, well, we'll consider that. They thought about it. They're worried about it too because their wells are starting to be depleted significantly. They decided, you know, that's not a bad idea. We'll do that. There's just one caveat. There's one thing you've got to do. And that is the water that you send us has got to meet EPA drinking water standards because we produce paper and board that goes into the packaging of food. That's what the FDA requires us to do. Well, not knowing a whole lot about water treatment, I said, okay, that'll be our plan. We'll figure a way to upgrade the water coming out of the wastewater treatment plant so that people can drink it. Okay? I didn't know how bad a problem that was. I started doing a little research on it and found out that nobody's doing that. The only process that's available is extremely expensive, something called reverse osmosis. So nobody's doing that. Well, fortunately, I was able to work with a very bright engineer, a Stanford engineer. Stanford is the Louisiana Tech of the West Coast. And we figured out, or he figured out, a process that would take water out of a wastewater treatment plant, sewer that's been upgraded, put it in a recycling plant, and it comes out just as clean, actually cleaner and better than the water that's currently in the Sparta. We tested it for a full year. We got federal, state, and local funding to help build it. A year ago, we completed the construction of it. And for a year now, we've been sending between 4 and 5 million gallons a day of EPA quality, drinking water quality water to the paper mill, which is about a mile away. And they have been reducing their use from the Sparta aquifer. It's a terrific project. It's up and running. And so far, we haven't had a single day that and the water has to be tested. It's tested in line and continuously tested. We haven't had one day we had to shut it down because it wasn't meeting the proper standards. We were losing the aquifer, and this has reduced the drain on the aquifer by about 30%. There was a story in the paper just the other day from the Baton Rouge Morning Advocate, and they've got the same problem we do. The aquifer that serves East and West Baton Rouge Parish is being depleted. It's unsustainable. It's not able to produce enough water for the use that they're having, and they're starting to lose wells too. It's a tremendous problem, not just here, but it's a tremendous problem all around the United States, and it's a big problem in the world. We've won a lot of awards for it. We won some national awards, we won some state awards. I got a letter the other day that there's another award ceremony. I don't go to any of the award ceremonies. I didn't do the brain work for it. All I did was beg people for money and try to talk the paper mill into doing it and get the smart people around me to make it work. But we're only 25% there just in the Sparta aquifer. It's a great project. It really is exciting. In fact, I'm going to go right over here. I hope I'm not messing anybody up. On my way here today, I stopped by the wastewater recycling plant. Don't laugh. This water, I picked it up about 4 o'clock. This water at noon was coming out of a wastewater treatment plant, going into a recycle plant. This water is better than the water that's in the sparkler. It's clearer, it meets more of the, it does a better job of meeting all the EPA standards that you have to meet for drinking water. And it's helping to reduce the drain on the sparkler. The part of the discussion about this, of this program had to do with going from the local to the global. Let me tell you, the United Nations is convinced that the next great crisis in the world is going to be a crisis of drinking water. Many countries now, United Nations, for example, project that China, India, and most of the countries in Africa that will soon have significant deficits in their groundwater and in their abilities to provide water for economic development and for their population. Here's one last fact for you. That 35%, see it up there? It's a mistake. I don't know where it came from. I didn't put it up there. But the 97% of the water that's on Earth today is what kind of water? Salt water. 3% of the water is fresh water. 2/3 of that 3%, or 2%, is what? Ice. Either ice packs on the poles or glaciers. 1% of the water on Earth is fresh water in either lakes or underground aquifers. And those lakes and aquifers have got to serve the population, growth in the population, and for business development purposes. And it's a tremendous problem. This project is able to recycle and also to clean up water from lakes and ponds. It's a really innovative project. It's worth your time to come and see it. If you want to come and take a tour of the plant, faculty members or students or people, kids, especially kids from some foreign country, I'll be glad to take you on a tour. The tour is free, the plans are free, the technology is free. It's really a simple process that uses 3 basic components that are manufactured and sold all over the place. There are a lot of different vendors. It's the way that it was put together and some of the technique that's involved that has made it such a revolutionary thing. It's the technology is available. It's free. You can come and take a look at it. I'll take you on the tour. The only caveat for taking a tour is when you get ready to leave, we walk out to that big tank, turn the tap on, you get a taste of the water. You don't drink, you don't get the free tour.